all in all, hope you're doing well. We went a little bit risk off yesterday, and the VIX really pumped, and then it got dumped towards the close. Indices are probably going to be quite heavy today because of this metric here, that it tells us that the herd are going long, and if they're going to keep doing this, we're going to actually go into neutral, and we're going to go into positive. So we'll have red cells everywhere, so that's going to be quite risk off. Okay, so just be really careful, and we don't want the herd to be buying indices because they're normally counter trend, and they lose money. So if they're going to be bullish on risk, then we've got to be bearish basically. So got to be very careful. There's some little snapshot here. We can see the FTSE fell, treasury yields pumped a lot, VIX was a lot higher, but then it got crushed. Russell 2000 negative, quite strongly negative. Nasdaq up, S&P just flat, and strong dollar as well. The strong dollar didn't help our robot at all, but we'll talk about the robot at the end of the video. And we've exceeded the weekly ATR on the Aussie USD, and so we've got dollar Swiss is at the top. We're positive, but we've got a lot more gas left in the tank from ADR, and we're going to ignore gold because we haven't got any data for the daily pivot and daily open or weekly open. So EU is the weakest with a -5 drop in the score change, and yeah, we are 0.13 minus 0.13. So we've got a little bit more gas left in the tank on that one as well, so you've got to be really careful. Wow, Aussie Swiss had a massive dump. Wow. Yeah, so that's all that we can say. So I need to look at this because this is clearly not right. I need to have a look at this later today because that should be red, right? Because the price, live price, is below the daily open. Yeah, so 5843 is the daily open, so that should be red. So I'll have a look at this later. Let's look at indices and gold. And DAX has been, well, they've gone really long here. So I assume that this candle, it could have potentially made them go long. They're probably looking at this double bottom support. And this candle here, they think, oh, maybe we're going to be okay. And the last 5 hours, it's really fallen. And it falling should encourage them to sell. If they continue to sell, we're going to get the buy, but we're probably going to see a flush of that low, a proper flush. And we've got 50 minutes to the next new hourly candle, so got to be careful. We don't want these guys buying like this. They're aggressively bought, and of course we're going to fall aggressively to punish them. So that's DAX. S&P. S&P is nothing to comment on. There's no comment because we're so sideways. Okay, so there isn't anything to be said there, so we can kind of ignore the S&P right now. There's no direction, no signal from the sentiment. US 30. And yeah, so we're a little bit sideways. They're selling it slightly. I think maybe a flush of the low should do it, and it should encourage them to sell. Okay, so keep an eye on that low, 33,220-ish. We should probably break it, and then it'll encourage them to short it, and then hopefully we'll cross back into the buy again. And we might be risk off today. If they're going to buy, we're going to be falling basically. I did DAX. We did DAX, didn't we? I think they're going to potentially sell. We're going to make a buy, but got to be careful. Go back to gold, and gold's interesting because we had the sell set up. We had the crossover here. And I was saying last week it was a sell. We got stopped out by like $3. It was too tight a stop, and it would have been the best trade, and maybe in years. Basically, if we had timed that properly and we didn't have such a tight stop, that would have been a ridiculous risk to reward. Maybe like a 20R. Or something crazy like that. So this is capitulation and exhaustion. And yes, it's telling us that they're shorting, but I think it's just them guys getting absolutely destroyed. And you know, if you were long up here, you couldn't have that kind of deficit on your account. Even on a micro lot, it would probably kill you. So if you're using a normal or large size, that would blow you up unless you're really careful. So I think this is capitulation. We've got a long way till we cross the 50%, so be careful. If anything, it's going to be a risky buy, but you can see it's trending lower. you don't really want to fight that trend really. Wait till it stabilizes first a little bit. It tried to stabilize here, but then you can see they've gone long. Can you see? So then therefore it's sold off again. Now robot is going quite badly, so we can look at where's the thingy gone? Aussie. Yeah, Aussie. So you know we've got some longs up here, which is kind of annoying. Now the thing is with Aussie, we've exceeded the weekly ATR. This is your weekly ATR metric. So we began at the start of the week, and we got like weekly ATR top, weekly ATR bottom. More information is in Discord, by the way, in case you're wondering about those levels. But we have exceeded the weekly average true range. Okay, so just be aware of that, and potentially stop loss cluster probe, which is 15 pips away, and it has really taken a lot of liquidity out of the casino because we were 3% yesterday. So we're gonna have to see how we go. The thing about the robot, it's not clever enough to understand stronger yields, stronger dollar, risk off mood, higher VIX. We've got a load of fundamental things that are impacting price. But the one thing that we could do is potentially look at the economic calendar and put in a filter. That's something that we can think about. If the RBA, like it was this morning, is out, then we can probably have a filter for the Aussie on the day prior. Just don't open anything to do with Aussie potentially, but we'll have to see how we go. We have got stopped out a little bit. We're minus £10. We were 16.25 yesterday, so we got stopped out twice on 2 trades. So have to think about it on maybe adding a filter potentially to the robot, but just to say we have exceeded the weekly ATR, so we have oversold quite a bit. And if you look at the RSI, we've been really oversold on the RSI as well. So maybe down to the SLC, I think, and then that'll be it potentially. Or they could increase their bearish bets, or their bullish bets, sorry, and then that size is going to get larger. And then if they move their stops lower, then it's going to probably try and gravitate towards their stops. So we don't really want these guys to be buying now. We want them to be giving up and exiting. And by exiting, it's going to push price higher. Okay, and that's it. So we're probably going to be a little bit risk off today, and we've got to be careful because of this. If we go into positive territory, it tells us that the herd are bullish and they're long, so we've got to be really careful. So I'll speak to you guys soon. Trade safely. Whatever you do, don't do what these retail guys have done on gold, because they would have probably blown up, and unless of course they were bearish. But you know, it's likely they were trying to buy it as it was falling, because that's typical retail behavior. So trade safely. I'll speak to you guys soon.